is going to be that black. Secondary design, my understanding is generally the yellow that you see there or the red that you'll see in a lot of the other art. And then usually the tertiary color is going to be blue. Those were the primary colors that would be used, and then I think this counts as a color, but it's also the negative space that you create. So mountain goat wool, the white itself, was utilized as a design color. So even though it's only got technically 3 colors that were dyed into the wool, I count 4 colors there at least. And then we've got this house front here. This is going to be carved by and done by master TSIMSHIAN artist David A., who's the father, and his son David R. Boxley. And this particular piece is actually going to be representative of the TSIMSHIAN people, but also TSIMSHIAN's story, referencing Amala, the strongman, also known as he who holds up the earth. So we've got a couple different elements in here, and do you want to try to find them? Should I point them out for you?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, why don't you?
Kind of explain.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So we're going to start over here, and I'm just going to kind of work across. So we've got the 4 different fray trees represented here in the design. So the word fray tree has the same idea behind the word moiety, but because there's more than 2 of them, different terminology. So fray tree, there's not anyone that's better than the other. There's 4 of them now. So we're going to start here. This is going to be a depiction of raven. You've got the wing right here, body, the other wing, the tail, and then the head. Also hidden kind of in the eye of raven is going to be one of the clans that belongs to the raven fray tree for the TSIMSHIAN people, and that's going to be the frog clan. So you can see the tongue there, the 2 little nostrils. And then following down below that, we've got a depiction of the killer whale, which is going to be one of the other fray trees. Now, Formline art is actually a very complex art, and I'll get a little bit more into it as we get towards the main part of the piece, but just as you're looking at this, one of the things to keep in mind is the negative space that's created here. That's why I count it as a color, because when you're designing these pieces, you have to be aware of the negative space you create. This killer whale, most of the time the dorsal fin in nature is just going to go up to here, and it doesn't curve back like this. But because if you didn't include this, you would have this really uneven section where there would be too much negative space. So if you brought the dorsal fin back into the space, so this is going to be the tail of the killer whale, that dorsal, and then I think this is a blowhole right here. And then in the killer whale's eye is going to be a depiction of a brown bear. So main panel is going to be, this is a depiction or a representation of a supernatural being that represents the earth. In Tlingit hiding TSIMSHIAN culture, when you have depictions of things, it's believed that everything has a spirit, so the animals have a spirit, the trees have a spirit, even the house front is believed to have a spirit. So this is that supernatural being that kind of represents the earth. And Amala is going to be in the secondary color right here. He's the red, and then his hands are down here, and he is holding up the earth. Now on top of the earth, you've got the Tlingit Haida and TSIMSHIAN people depicted in the faces up there. Those are called stylized faces. That's up there. And then you've got the supernatural being's hand right here. And a variety of spirits are going to be kind of scattered through the elements here, which is, again, going to be a callback to that original story of Amala, the strongman, he who holds up the earth. They're spirits in that story. And then on this side, we've got that idea of spiritual and social balance. So we have 2 of the fray trees represented on the other side of the panel, and then on this side we've got eagle, and again eagle's got that curved beak, so curved beak there, and then the beaver clan is going to be represented in his eye, wing, body, wing, tail, and then this one's the hardest one for most people to see, especially if they're not familiar.
It's a wolf.
It's a wolf, exactly. For people who are not familiar with indigenous art or Northwest Coast art, this is generally the hardest one for people to see, but you got the ear here, his eye, which is going to have a black bear represented here, his snout, tooth, tongue, paws, and once you point it out, it becomes a lot easier for a lot of people to be, oh yeah, I see it. And then the tail right here. And so one of the things that you practice when you are traditionally marrying throughout Tlingit, Haida, and TSIMSHIAN cultures, you marry cross moiety. SIMSHIAN's like to say they've got a lot more options because there's more fray trees to choose from. So traditionally you wouldn't have like an eagle marrying an eagle. That's kind of started to change nowadays. Now the other thing that I really want to focus in on is Robert R. Boxley really wanted to emphasize that this piece is a very well done example of formline art. I've been taught that well done formline art, you should be able to take your finger and trace the entire design without taking your finger off, which adds to the complexity. And you've got a couple of key elements or shapes that are going to be found throughout this piece, and Northwest Coast art, specifically formline art in general. So the first major design is called an ovoid, so that's going to be this represented right here. Now I just mentioned you should be able to trace the entire design. This is a floating ovoid, or element. And if you're going to have a floating element like this, it has to be contained. So there's rules, very complex rules. This has to be contained by what we call a fine line. So this little black line that's going to contain the ovoid there secures it in place. One of the other shapes is going to be this U shape here, found in kind of the snout of this. So that's a U shape. And then we've got a trigon, which is going to be this negative space. The triangle, it's actually the logo outside the building. And then an S shape, which is actually the easiest way to point that is going to come back to this this Chilkat blanket. You can see the negative space inside the killer whale where the ribs would be. That white space, that's an S shape. And so you're just going to have modifications of these shapes as most of your design choices throughout the piece. The hand itself is actually going to be going back to the supernatural being here. The hand itself is going to be a mixture of some of those shapes. So you've got the ovoid as the palm, and then modified U shapes for the fingers. And you're going to keep coming back to these S shapes that have been modified throughout the piece. And the ovoid itself is actually a representation of our connection to the land. Ovoids are found throughout nature. Your fingernails are ovoids, your palm is an ovoid. The vertebrae of a brown bear is almost a perfect ovoid. So my challenge to you is to see how many ovoids you can now go observe when you're out in nature and looking around. The other thing that makes this a really interesting piece is this is actually the largest carved house front. And it might actually be the only carved house front. So not only did they paint this, but you've got indentations into the house front design itself, which adds a whole nother complexity because it really speaks to their proficiency of both formline artists and master carvers. They also carve totem poles. And so this adds this whole level of complexity if you're not used to working with wood, when you try to do something like this, like sometimes you don't know how that wood is going to react, and they masterfully had that represented here. Now when they were designing this, they actually did not have a space that was large enough so they could see all the panels put up next to each other. So they weren't 100% sure that everything was going to line up the way that they were envisioning. So my understanding is they were kind of a nervous wreck when they were getting this actually put up here, just because they didn't have a space large enough to see it when they were actively working on it and designing it. The other thing that I want to mention is there is actually a door that's hidden in the design, and you found it. Yep. I have to actually look at the bottom to see exactly where the door is. There's a little gap there, but this is going to be referenced again once we go inside the clan house itself here.
It's shaped like the clan house that I saw, for example, at the Totem Bite, where there's like that ovoid, and it's short, and so the size and the height, the shape reminded me of what I saw at the other clan houses.
Yeah. And that's actually a very intentional design. We're going to head inside the clan house now.